Hi everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Michal Hrušecký. I work at CZNIC. I work in Project Turris. And today I'm here to talk about what we've been up to for the last year and what new stuff we did and what's going on with Turris in general. So, some recap. I hope that most of you already know us, and that's the reason why you came to this presentation, because you are interested what we did new. But if there is somebody who's not really certain what we do, we make secure and powerful open source routers with automatic updates, some dynamic firewall that is updated whenever we found some bad guy on the internet. And we also have some kind of program that you can join and help us hunt the bad guys. And yeah, you can see two of our routers. We will get to them later on. So, as I was saying, what we actually do, one thing that we did quite recently was that we created a new documentation about what we actually do and how it works. We used to have old documentation. It was based on wiki. The design was a little bit dated, but that wasn't the main issue. The main issue was that people found it quite hard to find information there. And it was also kind of hard to distinguish which part of the wiki was based on us, created by us, about the supported features that we developed, that we test, that we make sure that works, and what is actually some work from our community, from you guys. And we have plenty of articles there about various crazy setups and awesome things that people do, but those are not the things that we test the most. And sometimes they are using a hacky way to get what they needed. So we wanted to somehow distinguish those two aspects of our project. The well-supported part that is supported and should work and you can complain to us about, and the interesting part that the community does, but might get you to some dangerous places and you might need to slay some dragons on the way. So there are now two websites. One is wiki.turris.cz. Currently it's a whole old documentation. We took the most important articles and rewrote it to the new documentation, and we will gradually delete them from the old one. And we will continue opening it up and make it just the community place to exchange interesting ideas and interesting how-tos. And we have a new docs.turris.cz. Let's see if it opens up. It's quite a new design. There is a menu with various things that you can find, and what's not visible on the small screen, but it's there on the right. Yeah, is a search button, search box where you can search for some documentation. And yeah, when I resized my window, it's actually responsive, so nice. Other thing that is new, and we actually announced it last year on this conference, is Turris OS 4.0. We just released it about 15 minutes ago from here. And it's been a long way. we basically had Turris OS 3 point something. It was based on old OpenWRT. Then there was plenty of changes in OpenWRT community, and they reinvented themselves and started doing stuff differently. And we did the same, basically. We currently have our own feed with our software, with stuff that is specific to us. But we try to limit the number of packages that we fork from upstream project. And we have just a set of patches against upstream distribution, and sometimes we have some patches against their feed. But mostly those patches are that there is a security issue. We patch it in our distribution to be able to deliver updates to our users. And then we send the pull request upstream, and when it's accepted, we delete the local patch. And yeah, the advantages is that we are much closer than upstream to upstream than we ever was, and we have a much tighter cooperation with the upstream. We work with them. My colleagues actually maintain some packages in OpenWRT community. They are doing reviews, and yeah, we are much closer than to OpenWRT, and we are working together much closer. And yeah, that's something that we showed last year also. We have several branches for the new releases based on OpenWRT. Last year, we were discussing that we have the most stable branch. Now we call Hirby snails. Last year we used slots, but unfortunately we found out that UTF sign for slot was merged really recently, and not all fonts support it, so we had to pick a different animal with the same letter and same meaning, so we exchanged slot for snail. That's one of the important changes that we did in the last year. Hirby snails is the branch that everybody has. It's the stable release branch, and there goes only the tested software. Hirby turtles is something that we release for our more advanced users to test and to see what's coming up. It's basically the last step before actually releasing. And Hirby kittens is where we develop everything. It's a branch that is built several times a day. It takes a latest stable OpenWRT, mixes it with our package feed, and if it's built, it's published. So actually, OpenWRT stable releases don't change that much, but from time to time we see some changes coming in, and yeah, we change just some small stuff in UI, and then we find that in next build there is a new kernel and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more exciting than it used to be, and surprisingly, most of the time it works. So that's where we do development and where we work on new features that will come to the releases. And we also have some integration branch, Hirby Dragons. That's based not on the latest stable, but on the next stable OpenWRT. So currently there is Turris OS 5.0, and it's based on OpenWRT 1907 that we hope that will be released a long time ago, but there are still some issues that are being solved in OpenWRT community. So if you are more adventurous type, you can try to switch to one of those branches and see what's coming up. One thing that we did in Turris 4.0 is also some Nextcloud integration. Nowadays, we have a package list. If you go to our web interface, you can just select that you want to install Nextcloud. And then there will be some simple web UI where you can enter your admin user account and password, and it will set everything up. And then you can just log into your Nextcloud running on your router. We also added support for multiple drives that you can directly format from our web interface when you connect them, for example, via USB. One thing that we are also working on, and we actually haven't announced it yet. We are going to do announcement during next week, but I wanted to mention it anyway. Just a little bit of spoilers. So we were working on some web frontend redesign. We used to have well, Forest that you know is based on Bottle, which is a framework that is not that mainstream anymore. We extended some JavaScript libraries to use, and over the time we came up with needs for modern technologies. And migrating existing forests would be redesign anyway, so we decided to just write a new interface from scratch. Nowadays, Reforest is based on Flask, Bootstrap, React, and those popular modern technologies. We also have a colleague that is really concerned about usability, and he did even some studies about how to make it more easy to understand. So we hope that in the end, the new Forest will be even easier than the old one. And just some picture how it works. That's the main site that you can see, some notifications, left bar is still there, but nowadays there are some collapsible menus to better group some common functionality. Well, and the thing that we spent most of our time on was Turris Mocks. You've probably seen it. I think we spoke about it last year here as well. It's a modular router. It's the idea is really great. You can get a router that is basically chopped into parts, and you as an end customer can decide what you really need and customize it even as an end customer. Still open source, automatic updates, but it's even more flexible than Omnia. In Omnia, you have 2 USB 3s, you have 3 mini PCI Express slots, and Wi-Fi's you can replace for something else. But in Mocks, you can decide how many Ethernet interfaces you want and do the same stuff as with Omnia. We run Indiegogo campaign, and we made it. We got some orders, we surpassed our goal, and we actually managed to send everything by end of June. It took us a little bit longer than we hoped to. It turned out that if you are doing a modular device, you are not actually doing one device, but you are doing, I think the combinations is about 30 or something devices at the same time. So yeah, in normal development, you have slight delay because you run into troubles, into some troubles, you solve them, and you go on. If you are doing plenty of devices at the same time, well, you might hit more troubles. So what Turris Mock is composed of? Basically, we have a basic Mox A, just a CPU board. It has dual core ARMv8. It has half a gig or gig of RAM, micro SD slot, 1 gigabit Ethernet, 1 USB 3, and it has a connector for our bus. It's a standard PCI connector, but wiring is different. It's documented on our documentation side. And you can connect additional modules, and those additional modules allow you to actually create a router out of it. But MOX-A, as it is by itself nice home server. This is how it looks like. And first thing that you can add is SDIO Wi-Fi card. We had some troubles getting that one working. And it has dual band, so you can choose whether you want to run it on 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, and it also has a Bluetooth. We have a PoE, so you can power up your MOX just from the Ethernet. We have modules that will allow you to connect some mini PCI Express devices. We actually have two of them. One is B and one is G, and the difference is that after B you cannot add anything that is using PCI. After G you can add one more device that uses PCI bus. We have MOX-C, which is a 4-port Ethernet switch, and it has a 2.5 gigabit bus to CPU. We have MOX-D, which is SFP, also with 2.5 gigabit. And we have MOX-E, which is 8-port gigabit switch, also using 2.5 gigabit, but it passes the SGMI bus through. So we have plenty of modules. Yeah, one more, F, which provides 4 USB 3 ports. And I think that's all, yeah. So there's plenty of modules. The tricky part is to find out which of them you can use together. So if you know how they work internally, you know what those buses are and stuff like that, then yeah, it's obvious. But it's harder to explain and pass this information around. So we created a MOX configurator. It's a website where you can start with the MOX-A, and then you can drag and drop additional modules, and it will show you how it is connected and whether it is a valid configuration. If it is not, when you add some modules, it will gray out the modules that are no longer possible to add. And then you will also see down there features overview, how many Ethernet ports you got, and stuff like that. So now that was what we were working on. Now about what's coming next. Retail. So far we ended up MOX in the Google campaign. We were polishing the software, and we are going to hit retails in 1 week from now with Turris Mock. What we are going to sell there, as you saw, there's plenty of modules that you can choose from. In Indiegogo campaign, there are several sets. You can get naked boards. You can get boxed modules. You could get various stuff. In the end, for retail, we decided to go with few sets. One will be MOX Start, which will contain just the CPU board, boxed with power source, SD card, and 1 gig of RAM. And then we have a few options for routers. Two of them are simple APs, just wireless. Also also contains SD card, but contains only one Ethernet port and either one or two Wi-Fi interfaces and half a gig of RAM. And then the classic set, which basically has one port, four LAN ports, and two Wi-Fis. So that's the most common use case, something that you can really call a router, something that you would expect when people tell you that, when people speak about Wi-Fi router. And what about Omnia? You know that we entered retail with black ones. Now we are, after a long time, we are switching the color. So with Mocks hitting the retails, silver Omnias will hit the retail as well. It's still the same device that you are used to. And we hope to cover more markets with that and going more global. So thank you for your attention. Some links to visit. Our website is obvious one. Check out the new documentation site. It looks great and contains plenty of interesting information. We put there not only the stuff for beginners, like how to set up stuff, but we also put there documentation about things that only we know, like schematics and wiring and connector layouts and stuff like that. And obviously most configurators, so you can play and create your dream mocks. And if you have some questions, we can talk about them now, or we have a booth there and you can come and see what we do, see mocks for yourself. We actually have there the longest mocks configuration that is supported. So that's something to see. So any questions? Yeah? Mocks module with SATA interface. Not directly. What we have is mini PCI Express module. So in theory, you can use some reduction and put NVMe directly inside. Or you can use mini PCI Express and put SATA controller inside, as it was possible with Omnia. But with the case as it is now, there's no way that the drive will fit directly in. So you would have to create your own customized case or leave the drives out and figure out a way to power them. When we were thinking about that, we decided that, well, USB hard drives are really common. Price difference is almost nothing. And it's much easier, and you might already have some. So we created Mox F just for that. It has extra power, so it can power up actually 2.5 drives by itself. And you have 4 USB 3 ports. So that's what we were thinking when we thought about NAS. Yeah, thank you. Other question? Okay, so let's start in the front. Yeah. Question was about whether we will sell NAS box option for Omnia. I think one of our distributors did. You checked that one or didn't found it? Yeah. So when we started selling Omnia in retail, we didn't sold NAS option, NAS box as an option, but later on, one of our distributors, namely Discomp, decided to sell some extension packs, and they sell both NAS box and LTE extension. I'm not sure whether they still sell it, but they started selling it sometime after the campaign. Okay, another question? Now it's your turn. Turris 4.0 for Turris 1.x. Yeah, we are not sure whether it will be 4.0. We are still hoping that 5.0 will come out really soon. So yeah, with Turris 1.x, we ran into some troubles. Our colleagues were looking into it. It's not that well supported yet, but I think we are really close to solving the main issue. The tricky part would be the installation, because currently what we support is just installation on micro SD card with system migrated to Btrfs. And so for you, it might be actually okay, but for typical end users, there is still plenty of work to be done with migration and actually testing that it works on something else apart from micro SD card on Btrfs. So for advanced users, hopefully soon. For end users, it will be a much longer journey. Thank you. So thank you for your attention, and I think we are out of time. So if you need to go to some different talk, feel free to. Thank you again. Yeah, and drop by at our booth.